Welcome to the Daily Insider here on Vegas Insider. I am Kevin Rogers as we take a look back at a crazy weekend in the NFL and also talk about some college football and the World Series. Now heading back to Houston with game number 6 on Tuesday night at Minute Maid Park. We'll see if the Braves don't pull in Atlanta here. The city's had a lot of rough times in the postseason, and they were up 4-0 on the Astros last night. They end up losing that game, so now the Braves up 3-2 with 2 shots to win in Houston starting on Tuesday. And the Braves hope to not blow this one, but we'll see what happens. Also, we got a lot of NFL to discuss with Dave Sharapan. He is going to join us coming up in just a moment. But before we get to Dave, I want to tell you about BetMGM. And they are the king of sports books. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line. And if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. It's for new players only. Must be 21 years or older. Eligible in Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. They are the king of sportsbooks. Let's bring on our friend every single Monday, Dave Sharapan. That's right, Sportsbook Consig.
Hi, Kevin.
Is that Anaheim Amigos from the ABA? I like it.
It is. It is. It's got that that patch in there, that ABA patch. This was a classic. I saw it. I had to pick it up, did a little research. I'm like, Anaheim Amigos? Who's going to know who that even could have possibly be? When can I debut this one? I said, I got to do it with Kevin. K-Raj will know, and you knew.
Well, you can get their rivals, the San Diego Conquistadors, right?
Yeah. So I used to name my fantasy teams as a kid the Conquistadors. And then as I was, running hockey teams as I got older, we were always the Conquistadors. And it was because a kid in Pittsburgh saw this logo, the San Diego Conquistadors. It's fun to say, hard to spell, and it was cool. So that's awesome that you just said it and brought back all those memories, because they're like, Dave, why do you name all your teams the Conquistadors? I said, because you can't spell it. That's why. And, and it went from there. So Anaheim Amigos and San Diego Conquistadors were probably big rivals. I love it. That's great.
I got to think, you throw the record books out, Dave, when those two teams get together in the ABA.
Well, it's a short trip up to 5. That's what everybody says between all the drives between San Diego and Anaheim. But I've done it myself. It's really not that short. There's a lot of traffic on those freeways in California. It ain't so easy. But I'm sure, yes, throw the record books out. They battled back and forth in all of those games.
I want to talk NFL week number 8, and got to start, Dave, with the Jets beating the Bengals, the trapezoid game of the day, right?
Absolutely, yes.
You like to say not squares, but rhombuses and parallelograms, whatever other shapes you want to throw out there. But the Jets, they draft Zach Wilson, number 2. Perfect. He's not great. He gets hurt. Yes. So Mike White comes in out of Western Kentucky. Yeah. He saves the day, throws for 400 yards. The Bengals, who are 11.5-point favorites, they fall on their face and lose to the Jets. How do you explain it?
You can't. There's no explaining any of it, Kevin, other than this is why betting the NFL, I think, is so hard. This is why booking the games, the NFL, isn't that hard. Like, you just put up the number and take the bets and let it fall where they may. And wow, it was impressive to see. It was definitely too big of a number. I sometimes you just know, like when you see the numbers and you put them up in the book, you're like, yeah, we're going to need, Kevin, I've needed the Jets. All right. For, let's see, I've been in the books this is my first year in 20 that I haven't been working in a book. I can't remember a single weekend where I didn't need the Jets. Like every weekend the games start and you go, who do we need? The Jets are always on the list. Sometimes when they pay you off, like this in the book, they pay you off in spades. You have to worry about needing the Jets the rest of the season. as much money as the books won yesterday on the Jets game. And now we get to bounce back. They play on Thursday night. It's crazy. But there's no explanation. There's no good explanation. It's football, and it's gambling. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Sometimes the Jets win outright. It can happen, and it did.
How many people do you think, and obviously you don't have a raw number, but how many people do you think had them in survivor pools this week?
Oh, I was getting texts all over because they avoided them. Because a rule of thumb for me doing survivors for a long time was you try to always take a home team. So I wouldn't have had the Bengals myself, but I know some people that did, and I know some people that didn't. And those people that didn't are more happy than the people that did have them and lost, because they get to, live and fight another day. Just hopefully they didn't use the Buccaneers or the Browns or some of the other teams that were at home that were favored and lost as well. So yeah, man, the Survivor got chopped yesterday in a lot of ways with that loss.
Let's stay in the AFC North now, Dave. Steelers, big win, going to Cleveland, beating the Browns. Revenge game for the wild card loss at Heinz Field last year.
Yep.
You lose your kicker, he gets drilled in the head.
Man, what a shot that was.
I mean, who are you going to bring in? Norm Johnson? You got to bring someone in to kick at that point. But the Steelers, that's a really good win for Ben and Tomlin after all the rumors last week, with the USC stuff, for them to go to Cleveland and win. Roy
Girella, Matt Barr, Jeff Reed. We could go through spanning of kickers in Pittsburgh. I know them all. Anyhow, it's a good win for the team. It's a good win for Ben. Ugly, though. Like, the Steelers are an under team. Let's just call it for what it is. It's not pretty. The defense is, upper echelon NFL. The offense is still figuring it out. But that's okay, because them running the ball, or at least maintaining possession, is making the defense better. That's what they didn't have the last couple of years, because they were scoring, or they were, 3 and out. The defense just wore down. So right now the defense is carrying the team, and it's still NFL. Like, you can still win with defense. You got to be able to score when you need to be able to score. And you got to be able to win games 38-31. That happens. But it's okay to win games 15-10. Ugly game. Making the totals for the Steeler games is a challenge. I mean, they play Monday night against the Bears. Who's getting the 40 points in that game? I don't know. You saw it. It's interesting that division, somehow we've come around in the AFC North, Kevin, and Baltimore's at the top. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Cleveland are one game back, like right there. Still not decided.
Well, the AFC South now, Dave, it looks like it's the Titans division. Well, number one, the reports out that Derrick Henry could be done for the season with a foot injury, but they end up beating Indianapolis down 14-0. They come back, and there was conversation I saw yesterday, even on Twitter, Dave, that terrible throw by Carson Wentz when he was getting, like, the entire team, I feel like, was blitzing him, that they said the best decision he made was throwing the ball, because if it's a safety, Titans get it back, you don't get the ball back. So Indy got the ball back down 7. They had the pass interference. They end up scoring and going to overtime. But, I mean, you're Carson Wentz. I mean, we've seen good Carson Wentz this year, and then we saw not so good Carson Wentz on Sunday.
It's so frustrating if you're a Colts fan or someone who bet the Colts, because you see so much good, then you see, what was he thinking? Like, and it's still, I think we're still seeing that with him. Like, you don't see it as guys get to be veteran quarterbacks as much. I mean, everybody makes mistakes and throws picks. Even the great Tom Brady will throw an interception here and there. Mahomes is having that year now. He's still the younger quarterback. But yeah, the division is done, right? Like, I mean, but we thought the division was done before. I like Tennessee at the beginning of the season to win a division. I think it's over. I mean, they're going to win enough games to win the division. How are they going to do it now if they don't have Derrick Henry? This is the NFL, man. There's no one. I mean, like, it's next man up. It's let's go. It's a pretty impressive run by Tennessee, right? They just beat Buffalo, Kansas City, and Indianapolis. You can't say they're beating bad teams. You can't say, they're not beating what could be playoff teams. They're winning the games on the schedule. Be interesting to see now what they do if Henry goes. I mean, this would be one of those injuries that I think would have an impact on odds in the book. If Henry's out, do you rule out Tennessee as actually a serious contender and maybe bump their odds up and move it down on a team like, I don't know, dare I say the Patriots? Can you say the Patriots are making their way into being a discussion as the team that nobody wants to play, Kevin?
Well, I want to get to the Patriots in 1 second. I want your thoughts on the line move in this Titans-Colts game.
Yeah.
So the Titans open up as a favorite. T.Y. Hilton, he was probable. He played. He's not even going to play Thursday against the Jets now. But your thoughts on that, where you say, okay, Tennessee's flipped to an underdog. They just beat the Bills and the Chiefs at home, like you mentioned, as a dog. So you think, all right, they're going to run out of gas here. It seemed like that early, but still, I guess you ride the team getting points that's playing well. Indianapolis was playing well too, but now, a little bit too much perception there on the Colts.
Yeah, the line moves are interesting to me only because I think sometimes the market puts so much into just fake information. Like I always say, nobody knows Squadouche is the clean version, but it's, the real version. I don't want to say it. I don't want to get anybody in trouble if I'm not allowed to, but it's one of those things that you got to be so cautious with as a bettor. You got to know, like, it's okay to miss a number. It's okay to take a pass, but sometimes your original thought is right. And in the book, the original thought was the Colts are favored because they're a better team, or the Titans are favored because they're a better team than the Colts. Here's the number. You bet it. And they did. And people did. And I mean, I just thought, I look at it always like when I go through the schedule at the beginning of the season, Tennessee won at home. The Colts are going to win at home. They're going to hold serve at their home fields and split. So, all right, I got the Colts getting points. I'm good with it, and move it. I had them. I told, my guy that does the contest, I'm like, I think the Colts are going to be good. A lot of closing line value there because I think it was -1 in the contest. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it doesn't always get there. It doesn't always get there. Those good numbers, man. I've been telling people for years, I don't understand this hype about CLV. Yeah, it's great to beat the closing line, but if the closing line's wrong, what are you beating? It doesn't make sense.
I'm telling you, Dave, I've always had that feeling. And again, you've been in this business longer than me, but where I say, if you get on that closing line value and you lose, you lost. Like, it doesn't matter. You still didn't win. It doesn't make a difference.
Well, you'll have a lot of, parallelograms and rhombuses tell you, and then you get a game like the Jets. And it is the trapezoid game. That was an awesome tweet. I was laughing out loud. And my daughter was like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, somebody just made a reference to a trapezoid. I said, I do a show with them on Monday. I can't wait to talk about it. I loved it. But yeah, that closing line value, that's the way to justify the losers. It is important. And there are reports, Kevin, that books run about beating the closing line. And it's used against you if you do it often enough. Whether you win or you lose, you're put in a limited bucket, or you're put in a place that's going, what does this guy know? And I would be the one in the book, Trump, just standing on a table going, nobody knows Squadouche. Let him bet. So it's a different, it's again, like, and I'm sure we'll get to it. The ultimate example of that was the Minnesota-Dallas game. Take it back. Go ahead.
All right, let's go to that. We'll get to the Patriots in a second. All right, so just to review for everyone, Cowboys were laying 1.5 going into Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All of a sudden, flipperoo. Now the Vikings are laying 3. What happened? No report yet of Dak Prescott being out, just Dak probably not playing. We don't know. And then it turns out Dak didn't play and Cooper Rush started for the Cowboys on Sunday night. But I feel like I heard on this one too, Dave, Mike Zimmer wasn't sure who was starting, even though people said the line moved in Minnesota's favor. So obviously I had to tip you off that maybe Dak wasn't going to play.
I said on Monday last week, I saw the line and I said it was going to move. I figured they're going to take, the Vikings as a home dog. Then I heard the same thing. Vegas has a lot of people. It's a very close-knit community in the sports betting community. But you get a text that says, watch, Dak's not going to play. Really? Okay. Keep your eye on it. So I did a show Thursday, and I was like, yeah, I heard Dak's probably not going to play. He's dinged up. He's not going to be able to go. Really? Yeah. And then you see the line flip. And then someone asked me, well, did you hear? No, I didn't hear. But they're betting it like it's done. I said, I'd bet whatever you want to bet. I bet the house that he ain't going to play. How could you be so sure? Well, just based on the line movement alone. We used to see it in the books way before the announcements would come, like way before. And this one was days before. People betting this somewhere. I think maybe somebody does know Squadouche. I don't know. But they bet it like it's already known. So it still has to win. Cooper Rush. What happened? I mean, the Vikings continue to do the same. Does it feel like they're the Chargers of last year where they snatch defeat from the jaws of victory on a regular basis? Strange things happen. They don't get the first down late, whatever, but that should have won that game. And then allowing Dallas the opportunity to win and cover, they do. And the Vikings are left again going, what are we doing? I mean, they had Arizona beat, they didn't. They had Dallas beat, they didn't. And then Dallas is still undefeated against the point spread, Kevin. I mean, how many people are we going to hear this week say that? 1 million. And it's true. NFL is incredible. It delivers every time.
So this game on Sunday, Dave, the Patriots, they hold off the Chargers. It seems like Bill Belichick's got Justin Herbert's number. But
Yes.
Also, too, if you want to put this really in perspective, I know it always goes back to the whole everything evens out. The Patriots lost by 1 to the Dolphins. They were driving and they fumbled. They lose that game to Tampa Bay, missed the field goal late against Brady. They have the Cowboy game up late. Cowboys get the late field goal. They score in overtime. Man, the Patriots, I know they've gotten a lot of breaks over the years, but they've had a few go against them where maybe New England's not as bad as we thought.
Yeah, it's see, and that's a good perspective to have. And I think the books have that perspective as well. Not all of them, but I think what I've learned, one of the many million life lessons I learned sitting in a book and watching people make wagers on sports, is that sometimes it's okay to see something different. And I agree with you 100%. First thought when that game ended was, wow, the Patriots got one. Okay. You know what? They're pretty good again. And the other thing that I thought was, who the hell is going to win the AFC West? Like the Chargers? What were they going to win it? I don't know. Are the Chiefs still good? Who knows? Denver's not. The Raiders can actually win this division. Like they're going to have the first season in Vegas with fans and everything, and they're going to win the division. Are we going to have like people talking about this like they did the Knights when the Knights went to the Stanley? I mean, the Raiders can't be. I just can't. Like, you ain't ever going to see me in the Raiders stuff, even though I live here. And the kids are teasing me all the time. Like, we're going to be Raider fans. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. But yes, there's a couple takeaways from that game, and that's where I was at with it. Like, man, the Patriots are going to make the playoffs, aren't they? Like, he's got them this close, and he's got his guy, and it's happening again. It's happening just when we thought the Patriots, we could put him away for a year or two and not worry about it, let him figure it out, whatever he does. They're right there again. It's so annoying. It really is annoying.
Now, the former Patriot, Tom Brady, Saints beat the Bucs yesterday at the Superdome, 36-27. And a game, Dave, that Jameis Winston, I mean, you had a lot of storylines here. The Jameis Winston revenge game. He gets hurt. I mean, he could be done for the season. So you have the Trevor Siemian show moving forward. But the Saints built that big lead. The Bucs came back, and I was thinking, are they going to come back and cover this thing? Which was nuts, but then Brady threw the pick late, and it seemed like the Bucs, or the Saints rather, kind of mismanaged that drive to go ahead, that they were throwing the ball and not keeping it on the ground. But Saints end up winning. So the Saints now 3-0 in the regular season, the last 2 years against Tom Brady. But also, you don't get the Saints as a home dog that often. That was their first true home win of the season.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive on both parts. Tampa's still Tampa, and it takes every bit of worldly effort, breaks, everything to beat them. And the Saints did it. If they play that game 10 times, I think the Bucs win 9 of them, but maybe 8. I just, man, Tampa and Brady, Brady's just something special. It's still, I watch them and I root against them, and by the end of the game, I'm like, man, they're going to win and cover. I did the same thing you thought. I was like, wait, if I add it up, they get one more score. They're going to cover the spread, let alone the teasers. And I'm thinking like I'm in the book again. I'm like, oh, this is going to hurt. This is going to hurt. And then the Saints score, and you're like, all right, good. Well, at least the teasers are covered. Oh, they can win outright. All right, there goes the money line. And it's crazy that I'm still thinking like that, and I don't have to hit grade and print a report and, turn it in. So, yeah, don't bury either team yet. But, man, we got, Jameis out. That injury is crushing as far as him and look like them getting it going. Him and Peyton being on the same page. Now, he's a good coach. I mean, he's a good coach. He's going to have this team right like didn't miss a beat. You just know it. I think the Saints are a team you 100% have to watch going forward.
You have to explain something to me, Dave. Why is it that people were all over the Lions in the contest, in both the contests? That there's one thing about Detroit that's been very consistent this season now, I've noticed. When they get blown out, they hang the next game. When they hang in that game, they get blown out the next week. And that was the case yesterday. Philadelphia played very well because they didn't look good against Vegas last week or a few weeks ago when they played them. But the Eagles, though, that's a really good one on the road considering, I know they're kind of rebuilding in a sense, but you got to get that win convincingly, and they did.
They did. And we used to say this in the book all the time, that public dog. Public dog is it just ends up being a loser. I'm thinking like 8 out of 10 times. And I saw the line on Monday. Newbie was here, my buddy who's, my co-host and producer of my podcast, Cash Considerations. He was out here for the Eagles game. And he was, despondent Sunday after they played and was like, man, this team's never going to win another game and blah, 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 blah. And a line came out. And I said it should be pick. He said it should be Lions favored or vice versa. And it came Eagles favored. He said, wow, surprised? And I said, nah, this is one of those ones, I'm telling you. I'm going to talk about it all week. You're going to talk about it. We'll talk about it on the show. Everybody's going to be all over the lines. And we got together with some other guys, Teddy Covers and stuff, a bunch of guys from around town. We all went out to dinner, and we were laughing. We're like, either the Eagles are going to win by 100 or the Lions are going to win by like double digits. Like the spread didn't matter. All you had to do is pick the winner of that game. So blowout, not really surprising. The bad performance by the Lions. Not really surprising. That's the pattern. It's been established. I would be, if I was a Detroit fan or if I was in that organization, Kevin, I would seriously be questioning what did we do here with Jared Goff. Like, we got to keep this kid upright. If he's going to get hit, he can't. Football is still about the offensive and defensive lines, no matter who's playing quarterback. But the quarterback can't perform the job if he's getting hit all the time. So, and if you don't get to the other quarterback, they can move the ball and score a lot of points against your defense. It's pretty simple. The Lions got to figure out the lines first, and then maybe they'll be onto something. I just know that it may be a team. I used to say all the time, when I'm looking at the games, I put a line through it. I get the sheet, I put a line right through it. I think the Lions' performance yesterday iced it for me for the back half of the season, kept a line through the Lions game. Doesn't matter who to play.
Now let's look at Monday Night Football. Giants-Chiefs at Arrowhead. And the Chiefs, who were in the Super Bowl the last 2 years, they've been a little bit of a disaster for their standards. And look, defensively, they've been terrible. They get blown out at Tennessee last week, and now they get the Giants, who Joe Judge actually been a good road underdog since he joined New York 8-2 against the spread. They won at New Orleans earlier this year. I know they lost to the Cowboys a few weeks ago, but you give the Giants a shot here in this game. You think for the Chiefs it's a get-right game, but I feel like they've tried those before, and they've lost them. But also on the flip side, they've beaten Washington. They've beaten Philadelphia. You know, they beat teams they should beat. You think this will be one they get back, right?
One of my favorite things about what I'm doing now is I get to talk to people from all over the country and doing all different types of shows. And I did a show Saturday night on Fox Sports Radio with a guy named Bernie Fratto. And he hits me with this, that the Giants are 18-4 as a road dog since 2017. And then you just said what the record was under Judge. It's way too many points, Kevin. There's just no other way. The Chiefs are one of those teams. It's a rare thing in the book. They're favored every week, regardless of where they're playing or the results on the field from the week before. They just lost at home to Tennessee. They got housed. And at the end of the game, they had to carry Mahomes off the field because he got hit and he couldn't walk. And so they were favored by 6. It dropped to 4. They lost 27-6, I think was the final against Tennessee. So what happens? Oh, they get to come home and play the Giants, and it's more of a favorite, a bigger number, a gigantic number, double digits in the NFL. And, I mean, he's okay, but did he go through the concussion protocol? Because he had a concussion. So is he one hit away from the backup, and is it still Chase Daniel? Who knows? But it's way too many points. I mean, there's just but this is one of those ones where had the results yesterday gone a certain way, this game would be gigantic, huge as far as decision-wise. After yesterday, this is a blip on the radar. You're just getting this, moving forward to have an off day of baseball. I mean, it's a big night in the NBA. That's what you're worried about. Monday Night Football. Take the bets, watch the games, but it's not important.
I want to wrap up with this baseball. All right, so the Braves. The Braves up 3-1, up 4-0 in Game 5. Cruise control. They come back, they win, and now you got to go back to Houston to win 1 of 2.
Mm-hmm. You like the chances?
First, before I get to that, are you serious question? Are you enjoying watching these games with all these relief pitchers and the Braves with the relievers coming in for an inning or less than an inning, and it just gets kind of ridiculous. It's hard. I feel like it's really hard to watch these games, Dave, without. You don't have a Garrett Cole against Charlie Morton or whoever going 7 innings toe-to-toe. All these relievers, it just doesn't make it interesting to watch.
It makes it's disjointed. It's so funny because the kids are baseball fans, and even my wife Jessica, we're sports fans. I mean, our day is spent yesterday. We're watching all the games. Started with the Steeler game. It's Halloween. We're doing a bunch of other stuff, but the baseball game's on, and I could see it in the kids. They're like, another pitching change, another pitching. Like they said it. My middle one, who's a catcher, pointed it out to me first. She's like, Daddy, they change pitchers all the time, huh? And I'm like, yeah. The Ian Anderson game felt different because he was starting and he was going. You're absolutely right. There's a rhythm to the game. You can't describe it because there's no clock, but you know it when you see it, and you're 100% right. Not that it I mean, you are right. You lose interest in it a little bit. The games take forever. They're long. It's hard to stay engaged the whole time. And then I saw it the last two games, all the pitching changes and stuff. It makes each inning like it's its own game. And it takes away, I think, from the overall type of experience. I can't put my finger on it, but I think you're onto something, and I agree with you 100%. It makes it hard to bet too. Like it ain't easy. Like you want to talk about like finding reasons. I'm writing a column on foxsports.com every day, a World Series column. And it's like, all right, how do I look at it? One, and then how do I explain it? Two, it's tough. It's really hard. I think baseball has to not rein it in. I don't know what baseball has to do, but I know it's not the best thing for the product. Let's put it that way.
Disjointed's a great word because I feel at times, Dave, that a Reds-Pirates regular season game is easier to handicap than these. Like I look at the game, look at game 4, game 5, game 6 now. A, when you have one team where their pitcher's undecided, that doesn't help. But secondly, I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm a handicapper, and I love handicapping baseball. I get to the playoffs, and especially the World Series, and I say, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to think. Zach Greinke's pinch hitting. I mean, I don't know what to think at this point.
It's so hard. It's so hard. I got to write so many words and stuff about it too. And I said this to the editor. I'm like, because we got to get a certain time. It has to be up, so it's up long enough and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, they haven't named the pitcher yet. I'm up. It says TBD. And we would be in the book. And we would be like, do you know who's pitching? No. Do you know who's pitching? And you scour sites. You reach out to people that you may know with text and stuff and say, who's starting? They don't know yet. They don't know. It's the biggest games of the year to decide the champion, the World Series champion. And they're running it like spring training games, Kev. Like, well, we'll piece together 2 innings from him. If he gets a leverage inning, we have to go to him earlier. What are you talking about? Give the ball to the guy that got you here. Well, who got you here? He's hurt. Starting pitching. I mean, like pitching is really, it's hard enough. Trying to handicap it now. Wait, he might get 1 at bat against a lefty. He might get 2 against a righty. But if he comes in, depending on when the order happens, then you throw in the National League Park. When is the pitcher spot coming up in the order? Oh, no, let's bat him 8th. Wait, you bat the pitcher 8th. But what is going on? It's very, very difficult. It's still baseball, bro, and it's still fun. But, man, it's hard to handicap and write about and talk about.
I did see Greg Maddux in the stands last night. Bring him out there. He still got something left in the arm.
He can come and give us an inning. All we got to do is get an inning, right? Just get it to the next guy. In the batting lineup, we always used to hear, keep the line moving. I coach the kids, and I say that all the time. Keep the line moving, keep the line moving. Now you say it with pitchers. You say with the pitchers, keep the line moving. Give me 1 inning. If you can get me an inning in 2/3, that's great because that'll get me to that spot, and I'll go to the lefty. Like, it's playing chess. My head hurts watching the games, trying to figure out, like, in-game wagers. Used to love doing it. I love doing it during the regular season. Forget about it. It's so hard in a postseason.
2 quick college things, I'll let you go. Number 1, Florida State Clemson. the end of that with the laterals, which is where are you throwing the ball? You think you're going to throw the ball 20 yards backwards and run it 80 yards for a touchdown? Like, that's just silly. And Clemson ends up getting the cover.
I can't believe it. Like, I just can't believe it. If, and you have, this would be one of those ones where I'd be in the book and the guy would come running up to the counter to cash, his Clemson ticket, -9.5. And I would just go, had it all the way, huh? And he'd be like, oh, it shouldn't have come down to that. I was no problem. It was this and that. And I'm like, buddy, you just got a gift. Say thank you and leave a deuce at the counter for the writer, please. Like, you just survived something that you'd never had a chance there. And then they do that play. That decided side and total, Kevin. You can't make it up. You want to bet real money on this stuff. You got to live with the results, good and bad. You got Florida State. That's one where you get up in the book and you go right to the deli next door, order a big sandwich, and I get nice fat pickle with it, and you just sit there and eat. And you're like, yep, I ain't making a bet. I'm going to enjoy lunch because I want to choke somebody right now. I'm going crazy. Yep, just go sit down, have a nice corned beef, maybe get a Reuben and just enjoy some fries and just sit there because that one hurt.
And finally, the Nittanies. They hung.
Man.
They hung.
Yeah, they did. The Big Ten is a mess, is it not? Like, I mean, it's just, Michigan goes to Michigan State and loses. But they weren't that big of a favorite. And technically, that line could have been pick 'em. I can't believe it. Michigan State's still in it. Michigan's still in it. I'm concerned about Penn State because all this talk about James Franklin leaving, it sounds like he's leaving, like he's going. And Penn State has become a stepping stone job now for, going to the NFL and Bill O'Brien, or James Franklin's going to go to the Pac-12. Has he seen the traffic out west? I don't know if he has. I mean, the weather's great. It ain't so bad. Coaching at Penn State, you got all the money you want. You got nice facilities, big games. It's still hyped up. You got to figure out a way to beat Ohio State. They're just better. They're just better, Kevin. And it's as a Penn State guy, it's annoying. And it's more fun to beat them. We got to figure out a way to do it. They got some great recruiting classes coming in. I know this. And they're going to end up playing Wisconsin. Wisconsin is probably going to be on the other side of the Big Ten in the Big Ten championship. Are you kidding me? I mean, how do you make heads or tails of baseball right now? Football, you see this, and you want to add more teams to a playoff? Good luck with that. Good luck. I just want to watch the games. That's all I want.
Dave Sharapan, you could find him on Twitter, Sportsbook Consigliere. Always great work. And Dave, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next week.
Good job, Kevin. Enjoy the trapezoids and the amigos. We'll talk to you later.
All right, there is Dave Sharapan. I always enjoy talking to Dave, and really good work out of him and everything that again that we discuss here on the Daily Insider. And want to, before we continue, we're going to talk some NBA coming up, but I want to tell you about WynnBET. And with WynnBET, if you download the mobile sportsbook app and you're a new patron, you can get a $1,000 risk-free first bet with a $20 minimum first deposit, an eligible sports bet when you use the promo code VIBONUS. And that means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. The WynnBET promo code will expire soon, so make sure to grab it while you can. You can download the app on iOS or Android devices. And again, must be 21 years or older and in eligible betting states: Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, Virginia, and Arizona. That is WynnBET. All right, before we continue, I paused for a second because I got an alert on my phone, an Adam Schefter bomb. According to Adam Schefter of ESPN, Broncos finalizing deal to send 8-time Pro Bowl linebacker Von Miller to the Los Angeles Rams for 2 second-day 2022 draft picks. So that move looks like with the trade deadline coming up tomorrow, big one for the Rams. They just keep they just keep loading up their defense. Remember, they had Jalen Ramsey they got from Jacksonville, and they got Von Miller. Broncos beat Washington yesterday. Washington blew a lot of opportunities in that game. They had 2 blocked field goals and 2 interceptions. Still had a chance at the end to tie. They couldn't do it. All right, want to quickly take a look at the NBA for this evening. And as far as the games to keep an eye on, Raptors-Knicks at Madison Square Garden, New York, laying 7. And that total at around 208. A lot of unders in the NBA. Just letting you know, if you're kind of diving in now, you've let a few weeks go before you've jumped into the NBA. And we've seen a lot lower scoring games than we have in the past. So I'm not saying every game is going under, but a lot more unders than overs. But Knicks and Raptors tonight, New York at 5-1. They beat New Orleans a few nights ago. Toronto's actually come back after a bit of a slow start. They're 4-3. Meanwhile, Philadelphia and Portland, the Blazers were laying 5 in that game. Joel Embiid not playing for the 76ers. He is going to rest. So that number went from 5 to 1.5 now. That's amazing. Portland playing with no rest after they lost at Charlotte last night. The Hornets also playing with no rest. They host Cleveland tonight. Cavs in the final game of their road trip. They've covered actually a few on that trip and gone under in all the games. But also Cleveland looking to get some revenge on Charlotte after losing to them at home a little bit ago. Washington getting 5.5 at Atlanta. And the Hawks, they just lost to Washington on the road as a 4-point favorite last Thursday. Game went over the total. Wizards at 5-1. They're playing pretty well. Hawks at 3-3. Bulls and Celtics, good matchup tonight in Boston. Chicago 5-1. Boston at 2-4. Celtics laying 2.5. Nuggets and Grizzlies in Memphis. The Grizz at 3-3 after they lost to the Heat a few nights ago. Nuggets had a nice win at Minnesota off that back-to-back. And Memphis laying 1.5 there. Orlando's at Minnesota. The Timberwolves 3-2. They're laying 9 to the Magic. We're 1-6. Thunder and Clippers. LA is at 1-4 so far. 11-point favorites against Oklahoma City, who's 1-5. And in the NHL tonight, you have 3 games. Capitals and Lightning, good matchup out in the East. Lightning laying 145 at home, total of 6. Senators and Blackhawks, Chicago still looking for their first win. They're 0-7-2, but they're laying it 135 against Ottawa, who's 3-4-0. And the Kraken, after losing to the Rangers last night, they go to Edmonton. Oilers are laying 230 to Seattle this evening at 9:30. Before we exit stage left or right, I don't know which way I can go, but BetMGM, they're the king of sports books. Bet $10 to win $200. You can do it now if you're a new customer. Must be 21 years or older. Bet on any NFL money line. And if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. This is legal in Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. only. Full terms and conditions apply. That is BetMGM. My thanks to Dave Sharapan for joining us on the Daily Insider. And in case you missed any of that conversation, we will have it on the Bet and Collect podcast coming out later today. You could find that on Vegas Insider under our podcast page, also on Spotify, as well as iHeartRadio and Google Play, Apple Play, Spreaker. Find it on all those different platforms. Like and subscribe, please. We appreciate it. And we'll be back with you coming up tomorrow at noon for another edition of the Daily Insider. We'll recap Giants Chiefs and also look ahead to some of the Week 9 games in the NFL. Jets Colts started off on Thursday in Indianapolis, and the Colts right now 10.5-point favorite over New York. So we'll see if Mike White can continue that magic. He'll start again for the Jets after he helped pull the upset of the Bengals on Sunday. Again, I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for tuning in to the Daily Insider. And as always, best of luck with your bets.